How's it going, everybody? This is Brian, aka Dusk, coming at you with another Pocket Dynamax video. First and foremost, I do want to once again apologize. These last couple weeks have been quite hectic for me. Work has had me going in and out of the state multiple times, so I have not had time to do much of the videos. But today I do want to start us off with a Pokemon showcase. Now, this video is a video request by a currently active player. I believe his in-game gamer tag is Fat D. He is in the Discord channel as well. But he has asked or requested to do a video on Alcremie and Mega Alcremie. Now, unfortunately, I do not currently have this Pokemon. I did elect to go with a different Pokemon when it was around both times in the timed island so far. But I will probably go to get it next time it comes around. I want to say my next focuses are like Misty Psyduck and also Alcremie. But today's video is going to be on Alcremie. Now, Alcremie, if you haven't already noticed, is this little like ice cream or cake looking Pokemon. But it is a support recovery role Pokemon. It can slot into just about any lineup. But something I discovered today that made it kind of interesting is that she's also kind of a crit attacker. So when I'm going over the attacks and the build notes that I have, at least initial build notes, I'll go over that. I do once again want to fair warn you. Like I said, I don't have this Pokemon. I have not been able to test this Pokemon. This is purely based on just statistics and what I've heard or seen of them in the past. So without further ado, let's jump right on in here. So Alcremie here, once again, is a support recovery type Pokemon. As for her stats, she is pretty well stacked, except in the tier of speed. We can actually look at her stats here in a second, compared to other Pokemon. But you'll see here she has S tier HP, A tier attack, which is fine because she is a special attacker, S tier defense, double S tier special attack, as well as special defense, and then that low B in speed. Now, as for how she stacks up with other Pokemon, we can kind of jump over here. Her Mega Form is a little bit higher, but as for her, she currently sits at, and this tier list is kind of weird. I want to say she sits at 48th in position. As for highest total stats, while her Mega Form, Mega Alcremie, actually sits at 23. So in terms of support units, she is relatively high. I do think there's only, I think there's Mega Xerneas, Mega Latias. They are both higher. Celebi is higher than her normal version, as well as regular Xerneas. I think that's about, oh, Tapu Lini as well. So she's probably about fourth or fifth, maybe even sixth down from the top. But her Mega Form is, I believe, third. Yes, I believe she's about third in ranked in sport units. I do wish we had this for that. So we can actually see here. So S tier rankings, she is considered S tier. But this was designed before we got to test some of the other ones like Majourna and Xerneas and everything like that, which I think Xerneas might actually be considered something else at this point. But back to her. If we go over her natures, let's go over that next. Obviously, we want her to have Mega Brave 5 at the best, but at the very least, shoot for that Mega Brave 3. So she's going to have, each time it attacks or is attacked, she will restore 2% or higher, depending on what level, HP lost for the unit with the lowest HP. So she's going to be, every time she attacks or somebody attacks her, she's going to keep healing up your lowest HP unit. And then after releasing the skill to heal allies, she's going to add a 15% damage reduction to the target for 1 round. So basically this is going to, I believe, target the one with the lowest HP still, but it's going to give them damage reduction. And then level 5, she's going to record the healing value. When the healing value exceeds 35%, she will deal damage of 30% to the enemy with the lowest HP. And the damage will not exceed 40% of the target's maximum HP. So she will get a little bit of a damage boost there. Well, damage dealing there. Based on the total healing that she's done. Here in a second, we'll go over my recommendations for the other natures for her. But let's continue going through just her basic statistics first. Next, we'll go over her skills. So she does have a group attack as her OKO. And this is where the fun instance that I noticed of her crit comes in. So she has the group attack, which deals 300% of her special attack damage plus 150 points of fixed damage to all enemy units. Granted, this is the level 1, so that fixed, that plus 150 points is going to scale as it levels up. She also removes a buff of the target. So if they have an increased attack buff or increased defense buff, she can actually remove that. Then it has crit rate and crit damage increase. This skill has an additional 50% crit rate and 30% crit damage. This means that we can run things like the Brave nature if we want to be kind of frisky and have her as like a balanced build rather than all-in defensive build. And she'll have a pretty good damage output from her OKO that is going to actually counter things like the Dragon team. The skill also ignores the target's 10% special defense. She increases damage by 30%, and whenever she gets critically hit, she deals additional damage of, or maybe when she gets a critical hit, she deals additional damage of 10% maximum HP to the target and reduce 30% of their HP recovery. Pardon me. Now for the bread and butter of Alcremie. This is the Source of Life, aka the Life Spring. When properly built, the Life Spring is going to save a lot of damage to your team. So first and foremost, she's going to restore 90% of her total special attack, plus the scalable 45 points of fixed HP to all allies. And then she's going to put down the Life Spring. So the allies gain the Life Spring of 30% of her maximum HP. All allies share the Life Spring. Whenever an allied unit is injured, the HP of the Life Spring will be deducted first. And then during the existence of the Life Spring, the damage received by allied units will be reduced by 10%, and the damage dealt will be increased by 10%. And then whenever the Life Spring is broken, you recover HP equal to 30% of the Life Spring for the ally with the lowest HP. So it's really, really good at keeping your glass cannons probably alive, because they're going to be taking the damage, and usually your opponent's going to be focusing on these high damage, low defense characters to just get them out of the way. Ooh, geez. But when you have the Life Spring here constantly helping get their HP back up, it makes it very difficult to deal with. She also has Decorate, where she will heal a partner and remove the debuff of the target. So she recovers the target's 90% special attack plus 60 points of fixed HP. She also clears a debuff of the target and recovers 20% of the target's lost HP additionally. This is surprisingly a very good healing for just a normal attack. Now, for her talents, as I mentioned, she is a special attacker. Plus, she also really wants a high special attack in order to have increased healing. But for the life spring, you want to make sure you push up her maximum HP as much as possible. So we're going to do a balanced build of HP and attack. So what I would be doing is, and this may not give you the highest CP, but unless she's getting taking a lot of damage and her defenses are low, which her base defense is quite high, I would look at putting stage 1. I would still put at a defense. I believe she probably would be better with physical defense. And that's going to increase her base physical defense a little bit. But again, you could run the HP just to push a little bit more in that healing. As for level 1, for the gyms, you'll probably want to have energy +1. But real time arena, you may actually want to run talent 2 or 3 here. When it comes to level 3, you could again run defense, but if you want to have more of a balance slash attack build and get that extra healing off as well, I would go with the attack. This is going to push her normal healing ability plus her group healing stat up. Life Spring is the only thing that's affected by the max HP. So again, I would run with the attack here. As for the next level, you almost always want to go with this. Why am I yawning so much? Which is the OKO Strengthen. After the attack, it will gain 25% damage reduction. So it's just going to give her more survivability. The other ones are not that great. They are never for any Pokemon. As for floor 5 here, I would personally go for the HP. This is what's going to give you the bigger buff to increase your life spring. You're not expecting her to be fast because she has such slow speed. She's not going to outspeed anybody, so I would recommend going with HP here. And then as for here, this one is actually very important because she gives immune control during life spring. Having immune control that can last for multiple rounds is incredibly powerful. Lugia, I think, is the only other one that can do it, and I think that's only the first round of the shield that it provides. It might be while the shield's active. But the immune control is very critical because it's going to prevent freeze, it's going to prevent sleep, it's going to prevent stun. It's a very powerful strengthening effect. Now, I will go ahead and do a combat drill here. I hate the combat drill, but it will just give you kind of a general idea. So you'll see she has that crit rate increase because it did do the source of life first, it looks like. Actually, I want to restart this because I wanted to do this myself. Let's see if it'll let me. There we go. So we're going to start this off. Go. All right, so yeah, we do source of life. So this is going to give us our life spring. And you notice she's not taking any damage here, and that's because that life spring is actually taking it first. Now she'll get her OKO, which in this, again, it's not very accurate, but she did a ton of damage. She's still in life spring, so she's still not taking anything. She just now took some damage. Now she's going to heal all of that she just took, and it's just going to rinse and repeat. but it's kind of a weird Pokemon to be using by itself. And if you ever get to the point where you're by yourself and it's just Alcremie on your team, it's probably best to go ahead and forfeit. But like you see, Combat Drill still, once again, horrible. Combat Drill should let you try that Pokemon out with your team, but they don't have that as an ability. So now we're going to go and look at Mega Alchemy because they are going to be kind of hand in hand. I'm not going to focus too heavily on this. I believe all of her talents are the same. Yes. So as for talents, you'd still want to be the same. But as for her attacks, they are primarily the same as well. She still gets that increased crit. She does do a little bit more. She has a recovery on her OKO as well. Basically, all of these are just going to be a little bit better than her previous versions. Group recovery is going to give her a 40% of her maximum HP as Life Spring instead of that 30%. And then the difference on her Creamy Impact or her normal type is that she actually has Pursuit, which takes control of the ally with the highest attack or special attack, excluding herself, to perform a normal attack on the target, dealing 60% of their damage. And this activates once per round. So she's going to deal damage to a single target and give them a debuff that makes them take 20% increased damage. And then she's going to control your highest attacker to deal 60% of their normal attack damage as well. As for her flash nature, I believe this stays the same. Yes, that all stays the same as well. And she is a link, so she will be linked to your Alcremie. So once you power up your Alcremie and you eventually unlock Mega Alcremie, you can link them together and she's going to get an excellent boost from the normal Alcremie. Now, as for how you get Mega Alcremie, you have to have a high trainer level. So we can actually come to here. Mega Alchemy is actually a reward for level 260 trainer level. So it's going to take a while to get there. A very long while to get there, unless you're paying a lot of money into this game. But regular alchemy is still useful. Now jumping back over to my stats. That's not what it's supposed to be. Here we go. There we go. So back to our Pokemon Showcase spreadsheet here. We're going to go over what I believe to be some of her better options when it comes to held items and TMs and natures. So as I mentioned, she is a support unit. I don't know why this says defense. But she also has lots and lots of recovery. As for her natures, I believe having a mixed build of damage and defense is very beneficial to her. So we're going to first and foremost, like always, go with that Mega Brave. But then I've also slapped on Brave because if you have Brave 5, she should have, let me double check. I believe Brave 5 will increase her to about like 80% crit. So Brave 5 increases crit rate by 20%. So she would get a 70% crit rate as well as a 80% crit damage buff. So that's a pretty good, and seeing that her extra attack, extra damage, I believe it is based on when she critically hits to deal additional damage of 10% of maximum HP to the target. I think Brave is an excellent and fun choice to go with. Additionally, I've chose Quiet and Gloomy. Quiet is to get just the ability to recover her lost HP every round, and Gloomy is to give her a damage reduction of ideally 100% if you can get level 5. I think you're most likely going to get level 3, so you're just going to have that 80% damage reduction. 80% chance of damage reduction. I should be careful how I say that. Alternatively, you can also use hasty or careful in these situations. Careful is the one that gives you a shield based on maximum HP. It is useful, especially seeing that she does not actually provide herself a shield. But one of the things that we are going to talk about is on her held items, and these could give you that shield instead of careful. And while careful will give you a decent shield, I think the held items will probably provide a better shield. And if you don't know already, shields are based on which one provides the highest shield value. So if you have more than one shield, you're only going to ever get the one with the highest shield value. As for the held items, I do believe that Odd Incense is probably one of our better options. This is going to give her a shield of 30% of her lost HP with the minimum shield value of 10% of her maximum HP every 2 rounds. And at the end of each round, she restores her own shield HP, which does not exceed 15% of its own maximum HP. So after the first 2 rounds, she's going to get this shield of 30% of her lost HP, and then she's going to keep putting this, fixing this shield every round after that. And then during the existence of the shield, her defense increases by 20%. And if the shield is broken, and this is the red effect, sorry, I should have said that. If the shield is broken, then she'll deduct a point of energy from the enemy with the highest attack or special attack. And this is one of the very fun, interesting aspects of Odd Incense, is that energy deduction. Energy deduction is a very powerful mechanic. Alternatively, I selected upgrade as a good option, so that as her HP is lowered, her defenses are going to be increased, and that cannot be removed. And she's also going to get a defense boost in the first 2 rounds. And then for her red piece effect, when she's attacked, if the target's defense is less than 60% of her own, then the damage she takes will be reduced by 30%. So feel free to message me if you think there's a different held item that you think would be better. But I think these 2 held items are probably the best ones. As for her 2-piece set, I do think Adamant Orb is the best. I don't think Sticky Orb really has an effect here when she's really not going to be doing that much damage. I don't expect her to be doing shield breaks with a ton of damage all at once. So I think Adamant Orb is the best option. As for her TMs, unfortunately, there aren't any real good early game TMs, I think, for her. But seeing that you're not going to be getting her early game, you're going to be getting her in the mid game, you should have an opportunity to get Wonder or Guardian. I don't know if Shadow Kill would be useful with her. In fact, I don't think it would be. I truly think Wonder and Guardian are just the best for her. Wonder being the absolute best. As for the substats for her held items, you're going to want to try to find held items with the following. This is going to be damage rebound, healing rate, HP recovery, and toughness. These 4 are going to give her the defense plus support build. So damage rebound is going to, as you know, rebound a portion of the damage she receives. Toughness is going to protect her from those pesky critical hits. Healing rate is going to be how much she heals. It's going to improve how much she can heal others, I believe. How well her healing moves heal. HP recovery will increase how much she recovers. And then the other 2 that I've put on here is control resistance and dodge. I am a big fan of control resistance and dodge, as they can help you avoid some very critical stun effects, or well, control effects, I believe. Um, and as well as dodge will just allow you to potentially take less damage overall. As for the red substats, and again, these are not something that is just easy to get. We're going to want that PvP damage reduction, dodge rate, initial energy. That should be initial energy +1. And then treated rate HP recovery. So this is going to be increasing how much she recovers, as well as getting initial energy herself. And if we get that initial energy, then it's going to help her in real-time arena as well in the gym. She'll be able to maybe get off 2 attacks in regular gyms quickly, rather than having to wait 3 or 4 rounds before she can attack again. And this is going to be the same for when it goes to Mega Alcremie. I do believe this build will be beneficial for either. But if you have any questions or suggestions for this build, please leave a comment in the section down below. But well, I don't think there's anything else to really cover for this. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. I will be looking to potentially do another video or two soon if possible. I know this week is also going to be a very busy week, but I do have some time off from college, so this should be a chance for me to put out a couple more videos. But once again, I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.